In this video, I'm going to make the case for who should and who should not buy a house in 2022. Now, obviously, everyone's situation is a little bit different, and every single real estate market is also different, but I'm going to cover some of the most common scenarios that you might actually be facing to help you determine whether or not you should be buying or be waiting. Now, let's start off with who should not be buying right now in 2022. The first person who should not be buying is somebody who's not happy with the selection of properties that are available based on your budget and your preferences and the type of home that you're looking for. So say, for example, you've been searching for a few months and you just haven't found anything that you really like for your budget because the inventory is so tight. Then you shouldn't just buy a house just because you feel like buying before prices get too high, because that's one thing a lot of people are concerned about. If I don't buy now, then if prices keep rising, I'm going to get priced out of the market, and that is a legitimate concern. However, you're going to have a serious case of buyer's remorse if that's you, and you end up just buying something just to buy, because you're going to be paying the mortgage on that property every month, and you're going to have to live in the neighborhood that that property's in, and you're going to have to face any potential repairs or problems or things that you don't like about that property, and you're going to be regretting that decision. So regardless of what the market's doing, if you can't find a home that you like, then I suggest you still wait it out and still keep looking for the right property, because eventually you will find something. The next person who should not be buying right now is anyone who's worried about the market crashing. I know this is like the biggest headline in today's news and in all of the YouTube videos that you're probably watching, that you need to watch out, the market's going to crash, things are going to go down and burst into flames. So if you're super paranoid about the market that you're in crashing, and that's all you can think about, and you're consumed by this, but you're looking to buy, then you probably shouldn't, because you don't have the right state of mind to actually be a buyer right now in today's market. And that's why we're going to get into a little bit later on who should be buying. But if you're in a situation where you're just completely worried about your home losing value overnight if you were to buy right now versus waiting for the potential crash, then it's not a good place to be in, because you're also, just like the buyer's remorse person before you, you're also going to be regretting your purchase once that home does lose value, even if it doesn't materially affect you. Even if you're not looking to move right away and it doesn't affect your pocketbook, you're still going to be regretting your choice. And that's the big theme we're talking about here. We don't want you to regret your decision of buying if you're worried about the market crashing. Now, this next one is somebody who probably should not buy, but use your own discretion on this one. And that is basically if you're in a market where you're constantly being outbid and properties are going for well over asking price. So say, for example, you're in a market where a typical home costs $500,000 and they're selling for $700,000. So they're selling for $200,000 over asking price. To me, as a real estate agent, that's a pretty good indication that you should probably just be waiting this out and sitting on the sidelines, because situations like this will not last forever, no matter what, even if inventory stays low, because eventually these properties are going to go up so much and the value will be so artificially high that people who are doing this and outbidding each other and paying $200,000-$300,000 over market value are going to be the ones holding the bag in the future when the crash does come. Because eventually prices will stabilize and they may even come down. Nobody knows when. But if you're in a market like this, I would be very careful, because you could be the one who's actually holding the bag when things do come down, and that's not a good position to be in. Now, let's get into some of the situations of who should be buying a property right now. So if you are like me and you live in a market where rents now are superseding the price of ownership when it comes to buying a property in your area, then you should probably be looking at buying. And this is something that's happening to me personally right now. So that's where this idea came from. But honestly, I think it's a very good reason to buy. Rent is already a waste of money. But if you're able to save a lot of money by renting and you have a good financial education and you can put that extra savings to good use, then it might not be such of a waste. However, if you're not that person Say your rent is going up from $2,000 a month to $3,000 a month when it comes time for renewing your lease or looking for a new place, and you can own your own place for say $2,700 or $2,800 a month, then I think it's a better deal to buy, because not only are you getting a stable payment each month that you don't have to worry about rising exponentially into years to come, but you also get that peace of mind knowing that you have a place to live, you're building equity, and so when you sell that property, you're going to get your equity back out of it, versus when you're renting, you're going to get nothing besides a big thank you from your landlord and maybe your security deposit back. So definitely, if you're in a market where the rents are going above the cost of what it would be to own a similar property, you should probably be looking at buying right now. The next person who should buy right now is anyone looking to stay in the property long term. So one of the reasons why you should be buying is because you shouldn't be very concerned with what the current market is doing. If you need a place to live and you don't want to be renting, then you should be looking at buying regardless, because it doesn't really matter what the current market's doing, if it does crash in the near future or it doesn't and it just keeps going up, because it's not really going to affect you as a buyer. What I'm saying here is, if you're looking to raise a family in your home and you know you're going to be staying in this property for many years to come, maybe even a couple decades, the market where it's at right now is not really going to affect you in the long run. Whenever you go to sell, there's probably going to be a very good chance that you're going to be able to sell that property for more than what you paid for it, even in today's madness, because just look back. Look at where we're at right now in 2022. Nobody ever thought the market would get to this point and the prices would get this high, but we've now already exceeded the past market's highs. So what I mean is, if we go back to the last market peak around 2007, 2008, before everything crashed, today's prices are already higher than what those prices are then. So even somebody who bought back in that last time period when prices were at an all-time high would still be able to sell in today's market about 12 years later for more than what they paid for the property. And so if you know you're going to be living in the place long term, I say go for it. And this next buyer who should be buying is kind of similar to the last person, but it's someone who's not paranoid about the market. The very opposite of somebody who's worried about the market crashing. Just say you don't like renting and you've always owned your own place and you need to move for whatever reason, like maybe you have a job transfer or a new opportunity, or you're just tired of where you're living now and you just want to move and you don't want to rent, and you also don't really care what the market's doing, you just like owning your own property, then you also should be buying. Because to me, then you're going to have the peace of mind knowing that you made the right decision for yourself and you just don't care about all the external factors of what the house might be worth in the next 18 months, for example. So if that's you, go ahead and buy. Now, if you are an investor, the only way you should be buying right now in today's 2022 crazy housing market is if you can find a good deal that cash flows today based on today's numbers. A big mistake a lot of investors make is, one, they either invest with the idea hoping that the property will appreciate in value, just like we've seen these crazy 20% gains over the past year in the real estate market, and they buy based on that, hoping that that's going to continue to happen and they'll be able to sell it in the near future for a profit. That's a bad investment, because if that property is not cash flowing or you're just breaking even and you're just banking on that future appreciation, watch out. That's not going to be good. However, if you can find a deal that cash flows today based on today's rents, not based on what they could rent for in the future, or if you value add to the property and say you can charge an extra couple $100s a month in rent, if it cash flows today, then you should still buy that deal. It doesn't matter what the market's doing right now. It doesn't matter what today's prices are. If you can find a good deal that cash flows today, then all the other factors are irrelevant. It doesn't really matter when you bought the property or how much you paid for it, because as long as those numbers work and you're making the profit that you want to make from the property, then that's the only thing that matters as an investor. Now, with all that being said, Zillow is predicting that the prices for the next year in the United States are going to continue to rise an additional 16% from where they are right now. So if the median home value right now is around $330,000, then we're looking at an additional 16% increase by the end of the year. That's their prediction. However, every market is different, guys, and sometimes you could see more, sometimes you could see less, and some of the ones who are in a big bubble right now could even see prices start to go down by the end of the year. But then again, you just don't know, and that's why it's important to really pay attention to your local market if you're looking to buy, whether as an investor or somebody looking to live in the home. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get some solid 2022 real estate market predictions, then check out this awesome video I did with my friend Nick from Reventure Consulting. Right over here, we give our top 10 2022 market predictions for this coming year, and I'll see you guys over there.